Okay, there you go. Who's starting?
Alright, so this is the journey of group dynamics. And basically we just wanted to go into more in depth of our first impressions of everyone and our standing impressions and how we think the class evolved over the course of the semester.
So I'll start. For Jose, my first impression was he's a really sweet, caring person who will stand for what he believes in and wants. And my standing impression is would consider him one of the largest leaders of the group this semester, kept the conversation flowing and made sure everyone was comfortable.
You want to get over there, so get behind the podium as you talk, then. Okay.
So my first impression of Jose was he was quiet, caring, withdrawn, and toxic masculinity at first. And then my standing impression as of right now is really caring, wears his emotions on his sleeve, great personality, and generally just a great guy.
Where is Jose, though? No, but where is it on here?
This is about
This is about him.
This is
He's not
about
going to
him.
comment about himself.
Oh,
I mean, I can
okay.
if you want. I'll be very egotistical.
Alright, so at first I thought he was a quiet person who wasn't going to participate much, and then right now I think he's a leader and a genuine person who cares about everyone in the class and always try to keep the class conversation flowing.
Okay.
Okay, so I thought he was a caring guy who speaks up for what he believes in and doesn't like awkward silence. And my impression now is he's one of the leaders of the class, very thoughtful, and a guy who isn't scared to talk about his feelings and emotions.
At first I thought he was quiet and didn't seem interested, but now I see him as a leader in the group, open, definitely cares about himself and others, has strong emotions, and isn't scared to say what, no, isn't scared to share what they are.
Okay, I thought that Jose was a little bit withdrawn and passive aggressive, but now I think he's really genuine. He's funny, he's honest, really caring, and a great
My first impression of Jose was a person that doesn't want to communicate with others and didn't give me a good vibe. Then right now I see him as a leader that's open, interested, and trustworthy, a person that's non-judgmental.
And that's Jose over there. Okay, now what?
Oh, so now it's Evelyn.
Wait a minute, time out. Now, okay, so they're not written, right? What you're saying now?
Huh?
Okay, go ahead, Evelyn. Because I don't see Evelyn's name here.
Well, she's up there. Top.
Oh, there she is. Oh, jeez. Can you go back to Jose for a moment? Okay, now we'll start with Evelyn. Go ahead.
Take 5 minutes.
Okay.
Alright, so I thought Evelyn was a super quiet but sweet girl who will be more of an observer throughout the semester. And now I think she's a genuine person who's trying to work through the anxiety and really wants to be involved with the group and has been working towards that.
Very good. Thank you. Now I got the whole thing.
You got it?
What
And
a
my first
dull,
impression,
normal professor.
my first impression of Evelyn was someone who comes off super distant and likes to listen rather than share, but is always observing. And my standing impression is she's closed off because she feels she will say the same thing or doesn't have the same experiences as others. Also, her anxiety keeps her distant, but as time went on, she started to work on opening up.
Okay, great.
That's okay. So my first impression of Evelyn was someone who is quiet, reserved, and shy. And now my standing impression is that she's a sweetheart, she's caring, dependable, loyal, a role model for her siblings. She's very family oriented and so quiet.
Great.
My first impression was a young, quiet girl who was kind and sweet but very reserved. And now I think she is an individual who is trying to get out of her shell, but she's very anxious and scared what she'll say and how people will take it. But she's very sweet and caring.
First impression of Evelyn was that she was scared, quiet, and shy, but seemed super nice. Now I see that she is someone I can relate to in the shyness, and that she is trying to learn how to build her confidence in sharing with others.
I thought that Evelyn was shy, quiet, and a little bit stressed out. A lot stressed out, actually. But now I see that she's really observant and a deep thinker, and she gives really good advice after contemplating things for a while. And she's really caring and loving.
My first impression of Evelyn was a nice girl who's shy to talk deep. And then my standing impression right now is a person who wants to be involved with the group but needs a little bit of help to come out of her shell. And she's also genuine, observant, and very caring.
Perfect. And where is Evelyn? There's Evelyn. Ashley.
Okay. My first impression of Ashley was an outgoing girl who has no problem jumping in and adding to the discussion when it gets awkward. And my standing impression is genuinely a sweet person who gives truthful insight and is outgoing, very personable, and easy to talk to.
My first impression of Ashley is that she was quiet, standoffish, talks when it's quiet, and makes an effort to make the group comfortable. My standing impression is that she's caring, loyal, dependable, and honest.
My first impression was that she's a super nice person and immediately knew she was from Jersey. And then my standing impression is she's a genuine and caring person who seems like she'd be the mother of the friend group, and I could definitely see us being friends.
So I thought Ashley was a sweet girl who will speak her mind when she has a similarity with someone or something relatable. And now I think she's very organized and happy with her life. She's the mother of the class, but she's fun and brings good energy.
My first impression of Ashley was the Jersey girl vibe. She was withdrawn, but I thought she was confident and self-assured. Still the Jersey girl vibe, going strong, but you're super sweet, understanding, and like a fun time.
My first impression of Ashley was a quiet and compassionate young lady, relatable, being shy. Now I see her as a motherly and kind person, easy to talk to, and has a bright future ahead of her.
So I put for my first impression someone who will stand her ground in any given situation. And on my standing impression right now, quiet person will speak when she feels the needs and gives off mom vibes.
And there's Ashley.
My first impression of Leah was, at first I saw Leah as quiet, but after the first day she came off as a leader and got the class set in motion for the rest of the semester. And my standing impression is she's optimistic, caring, and genuine person who is doing her best to deal with struggles that she has been through a lot. The person I feel like I've become closest with in the class and always manages to get everything she needs done positively.
My first impression of Leah was that she was intimidating, sweet, comfortable, and honest. And my standing impression is that she's a sweetheart, she's caring, she's structured, she's goal-oriented, she's loyal, and she's honest.
So I thought Leah was someone who can't stand awkward silence, and she likes to involve others in the conversation and is very open to talk about anything. I think now she's a caring girl who's been through a lot but stays strong through every situation. She's very dedicated and determined to get what she wants and believes in.
At first I thought she was intimidating and not scared to share her thoughts. That's why. But then I realized she's super caring and isn't afraid to share what she believes in. She's someone who will listen, and I truly believe that we could be friends outside of class.
I thought Leah was confident, really organized, and definitely a potential leader of the group. I still think you're really confident, you stand your opinion no matter what, but you always want what was best for this group, and I think you really showed that. Appreciate that.
I saw Leah as a self-confident, caring, and thoughtful person. Now I see her as a person that is passionate and isn't scared to share her thoughts. She had a rough history, but she's determined to make a positive impact in the future.
My first impression was a person who was persistent, goal-oriented, and vocal, and that still all stands, plus my standing impression of her being one of the most sweetest and genuine person I've ever met. And she's an influencer who wants to change the group and get everyone involved and while speaking her mind when she needs to.
And there's Leah.
I keep forgetting the clip. My bad.
So my first impression of Monica was that she was a party girl, that she was honest, she's open, puts herself in with bad people, and cares a lot about others. My standing impression is that she's a sweetheart, she's genuine, she's loyal, she's caring, she's honest, she's hardworking to get what she wants, she's trustworthy, and I get good vibes.
My first impression was that she was a sweet and warm-hearted person who is always smiling, and my standing impression is that she's the person I feel the closest to in the class and is extremely genuine and is always willing to listen and contribute to conversations and be vulnerable with everyone.
My first impression was a girl with lots of energy who puts others first before herself and is very open and friendly. Now it is that she's a good personality, doesn't mind talking about her life, and is someone you could always turn to for a smile or laugh.
My first impression of Monica was that she was honest and seems like a lot of fun outside of class. Now I think she's 100% not scared to speak her truth, and I admire her for that. She'll listen to you and give feedback and seems like a great friend who will always be there.
I thought Monica was self-assured and confident and not afraid to speak up and talk about herself. And that still stands. Obviously, she's ready to speak and really she put her trust in the group. She's honest, caring, understanding, really fun to be around. I think you grew tremendously and you're a really integral part of the group.
My first impressions of Monica was being nice, calm, caring, and welcoming person. Now I see her as honest and supportive. She is prepared to discuss and provide honest feedback. Despite having difficult relationships, she is determined to do good things without allowing others to drag her down.
My first impression was a bottle of energy and emotions waiting to be released. Right now, Monica's a down-to-earth person. She's loving and loyal. She's willing to take a leadership role and has a good head on her shoulders.
And there's Monica.
Okay, so my first impression of Leanna was she's a super sweet girl, super quiet girl who comes off very sweet and caring, but more of an observer. And my standing impression is a person who needs to open up more, even if she doesn't feel her experiences aren't as traumatic than others. As time went on, she did open up and was very optimistic and funny.
My first impression of Leanna is that she's Pennsylvania, quiet, she's sporty, and she's genuine. My standing impression of her is that she's a good friend, she's reserved, she's sporty, she cares for those in her life, and she's very determined.
My first impression about Leanna was that she seems quiet, but she's very sweet. And I think that she speaks up when she's able to relate to others, super nice and caring.
My first impressions from Liana is sweet, peaceful, and athletic person. Now I see her as a person who is quiet, interesting, but is willing to speak if she has any opinions. I can see she's more than just being a timid girl.
My first impression was that she's quiet yet observing, and now I see her as an outgoing person outside of class, but is hesitant to jump into the conversation within class.
My first impressions of Liana 4 years ago was that she was funny, kind, and really welcoming. Now, obviously, she's one of my best friends. She's really loyal, caring, still funny, outgoing, and always the life of the party.
My first impression was a withdrawn person who likes to observe, and right now it's a person who's quiet and has a lot more to her if you give her time.
And there's Leanna.
So my first impression of Hannah was a quiet, laid-back girl who comes off more as an observer, and my standing impression is someone who always provides good feedback, whether we like to hear it or not, and is very caring.
My first impression of Hannah is that she was intimidating, strong, she's quiet at first, sporty, and she's intelligent. And my standing impression is that she's very bold, she's smart, she's funny, she's caring, she's observant, still sporty, and still just a little bit quiet. Not too much.
Okay, my first impression 4 years ago was she's shy, tall, has the potential to be a great friend and teammate, very caring, thoughtful, and has a strong work ethic. Now she's one of my closest friends, someone who I could always turn to for advice if I have a problem, good laugh, or company.
My first impression of Hannah was that she seemed shy and quiet, and that I knew she was from somewhere amazing because of that accent, which I'm still obsessed with.
Stand over there.
Now I see her as a leader, caring, smart, and someone you can trust.
First impressions of Hannah is being confident, curious, caring, and athletic person. Now I see her as a person that starts conversations when there's a complete silence, who expresses her thoughts and is trustworthy.
My first impression was a mature, independent individual, and now I see her as an individual who is strong-minded and will be a great leader wherever she goes.
My first impression was tall and willing to make jokes to lighten up the mood. My standing impression is loyal, smart, loving, trustworthy person who I feel the most connected with in the group. And she made conversations easy, and I see that we are more alike in the group.
Okay, James, someone who has a lot of things going on in their life and is struggling balancing school life and personal problems, but very nice and thoughtful. Now I think he's not scared to speak his mind, has a hard life, but is a strong-minded individual and stays positive. He's a good listener, kind, and wants the best for everyone.
My first impression of James was someone who I didn't think cared about school, but now I know he has a lot going on in his life. He's very strong, not scared to speak his thoughts, and cares about school and others. First impression was completely wrong.
I said this before, I thought James was kind of a weird dude, and I was kind of wary of him at first, but now I see that he's really resilient, intelligent, caring, and observant, and he was really ready to put his trust in the group and open up.
First impressions of James, a person that doesn't care about school because of numerous absences and did not provide a positive impression. Now I see him as someone that is open, isn't scared to share about his life, had some difficult times during the semester but is determined to finish school and stay positive.
My first impression of James is someone who seemed very interesting and willing to open up. And my standing impression is that he's a really nice guy who wants the best for everyone, and he fights for everything he does and everything he goes through. He still stays strong.
I accidentally put James's name
I
instead
did
of
that
mine.
all the time.
That's mine, not James talking about himself. So at first I thought he was a quiet, withdrawn person who seemed to be more than what he was showing. And now I see him as a good-hearted person who pushes through things that are thrown his way and is determined to make it through.
First impression was another person who comes to school just to come and only cares for himself. Second impression is James cares about the group and deep connection, and he's willing to speak his mind and is built to last.
Great.
Okay, the class as a whole. The class at first, the class was distant from each other, which is normal, having a bunch of young adults opening up about personal experiences where some of us felt uncomfortable talking about. And the class now, after the weeks went on, we started to express our emotions in different ways and definitely became closer as a group, and the topics we were able to talk about during our tea group discussions, but did step back when it came to sharing personal feelings and experiences.
So at first I thought our class was extremely distant and didn't discuss much, just doing the bare minimum because a safe place had yet been created. And now I see our class as having potential to dive into some great discussion, but due to lack of attendance and creation of a safe place, we start taking steps backwards from what could have been.
My impression of the class at first is that everybody was really anxious, no one really wanted to talk, and it really did feel like pulling teeth to get the conversation going. It felt very uncomfortable upon entry, but now I view the class as it had a lot of good sessions and some genuine progress was made in my opinion, but the class never really dove deep into their own personal lives, and there was a lot of potential, but it didn't go as far as I'd hoped it would.
So I was interested to see how this class dynamic would work, as most of us have never experienced a class like this. At the beginning, everyone was anxious, shy, stressed, or didn't know how to approach the awkward silence. Now everyone gained some sort of relationship with one another. There was good conversations, but we couldn't seem to keep the conversation flowing and continuing, and some classes were more of a monologue of just one person talking. I feel like when the group was smaller, it was easier to have good conversations and involve everyone.
I started this class on class number 2, so I was scared, being like almost like the new person. I didn't know what to expect and never took a class like this. Everybody was quiet, but I was excited to see what this class was about. Now I feel like it's still kind of awkward, but definitely has changed. There are leaders, and some of us are getting better with opening up to each other. I think we all have learned something new about ourselves that we hadn't known before.
I was very excited to hear and experience what this class was about, but I was also kind of terrified and very stressed out the first 2 classes. And now, obviously due to some absences and situations, a lot of different dynamics emerged during the class. So relationships and connections were definitely made, but often it felt like as soon as we were progressing, something happened that delayed or erased that progress.
Okay, I was stressed and nervous about this class. I didn't know what to expect or what it was about. It was my second day also in campus. Now, even though there was a lot of absences, which made the group sessions much more difficult, we didn't get as far in our discussions as we all would have liked. Despite this, the group still made progress. We all learned something new about ourselves as well.
So at first I did not think this class was going to be enjoyable for me, and figured that it would be my worst class this semester. But then it ended up being my favorite class that I enjoyed going to, and we had good and bad sessions, but I focused more on the good sessions because we made a lot of progress in my eyes, and I tried looking at the positives and take away what I can for this class.
So these are the theorists that we felt we most resembled throughout like our journey as a class. And I thought we resembled Carl Rogers, and that's because the group milled around and was hesitant to explore deeper conversations. And classmates started to open up a little and then hit some conflict at the end. Overall, some progress was made and accountability was held throughout.
So Yalom stages are 3 stages. The first stage is hesitant participation and like sizing up with fellow group members, and that was definitely something that we did. His stage 2 is like establishment of dominance and leadership, and those lines were kind of blurry throughout our class. And stage 3 is cohesiveness. I think that we had like spurts of intimacy and closeness, and like limited cohesiveness. So we didn't fully reach that stage 3 intimacy and togetherness, but we definitely had moments in which it seemed that we did.
So I put William Schultz, he with his 5B in affection, clues, and control. Said the group showed numerous signs of affection and inclusion, but there was minimum effort of control, but some people did stand out more than others in that category. I think that's it.
And that's a wrap.